Good morning and welcome to the AI Executive Morning Buzz. We are back. This is your go to live broadcast for real time AI insights, industry trends, and executive level analysis without the hype. I'm your host, Albert Ramos, and I'm here with Jason Hess and Nick James, two powerhouses who bring technical depth and strategic clarity to every conversation, as you all know if you've been following along. All right, let's jump in. We have 30 minutes. It's jam packed. There's some really good stuff. Number one, we got to talk about my girl Siri. Something's going down there at Apple, so we're going to be chatting about that. Then we're also going to talk about Google Gemini 2.5 Pro, what they just dropped. We knew something was coming. Here it is. And then finally, we've been listening to you all. We're tracking your views, we're tracking the analytics. Everyone is up in arms. They want to know more about how AI is impacting the job market. So we're going to talk about that paradigm shift too. So why don't we start with topic one? All things Apple. Apple appoints a new head. They're making some leadership changes when it comes to the Department of Siri, and then there's also some legal allegations. So why don't we start with Jason? We'll shoot it over to you. What is going on?
Yeah, so Apple made some changes after their announcement that Siri won't be released as it was represented. And so that has also brought some lawsuits to Apple that they misrepresented what Apple Intelligence capabilities were, that everyone was expecting that they would get it with the
Right.
most current software update, and that didn't happen, and it got pushed and pushed and pushed. So, a lot of people are saying, you breached the contract, you oversold this and weren't able to deliver. So that was the first part, is that they've been getting some lawsuits about the misrepresentation of the Apple Intelligence. And then Tim Cook went in and decided to shuffle some leaders around and has now identified a new head of Siri. He was running the
Wow.
Vision Pro development, and now he'll be taking over to be able to do that and be able to start focusing on what Siri can do. So I think this is really has the potential to shift things up, but I think I don't think you're going to see any tangible steps coming. Anytime you get a new leadership in charge, it's going to take some time to understand what's working, what's not working. They just can't go and throw everything out. But you know, truthfully, I think it may be in their best interest to just scrap the name Siri and just start from scratch, because Siri has such a negative connotation now. It's been promised for almost a decade that it's going to be your personal
Right.
assistant, and it can't even answer simple questions like who won the Super Bowl.
It's so funny, it does have a negative connotation or stigma right now because my kids just won't stop talking to her. And then they're just like playing, jamming out on music. I'm like, Siri, enough. No, the other
Right.
thing though
I
is
have that
you're,
problem with Alexa and the sparkles from Moana's song being played
yeah,
about 1,000 times a day.
that is too funny. No, it's interesting because, and I think you might have mentioned it. Sorry if I missed it, but $1 billion. There's only a way up, right? You can
Right.
only go up from here because it's not. They're losing $1 billion in this program, which is so interesting because actually this whole like agent move, this agent wave of agent doing your appointment booking and shopping. I mean, this was Siri. If I remember the commercials back in the day, they were a little ahead of their time, and it didn't work out. And so this is their second attempt, and they're losing a ton of money. Nick,
Yeah, and to
strategically,
be clear, the $1 billion is on their streaming service,
right, on the streaming,
not
that's
not
right.
on the AI service. So they're getting it from multiple angles.
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, there's definitely something going on where they need to improve their tech. So they're doing a little bit of a shift, right? Good for Tim Cook. Apple has the cash, so they can make it work. But I'm excited to see what they do because what do you have out there? You have Alexa, you have what Gemini's working on. Who am I missing from an actual bot? There's more out there too. I don't know. It's at the tip of my tongue. But Nick, thoughts strategically on what's happening here, specifically with Apple and Siri?
Apple's always been Apple and Samsung are famously, to me, as an analogy, I describe them as the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? The old parable. And Apple is always conceded to being the hare in the story, right? The most consistent one that delivers reliably, is never has knee jerk reactions. Samsung has always been, I would say, at least 4 to 5 years. And Albert, I think that's why you have a Samsung, or
I
is
do.
because early on you made a choice that you prioritize, current features over sort of Apple's stance on, like sort of, tried and true, reliable, right? So
Right.
I think here with Siri, you're starting to see. What surprised me is the announcement. Okay, Apple's not known for this. When Apple makes commitments, they follow through on those commitments. That's the one surprising thing to me about this. So I think that there's an internal struggle that we are seeing sort of the outward impacts of. There's an old guard and there's a sort of a new generation trying to come in and take over and continue to deliver new and innovative features in the iPhone. So I think that we're seeing the outward view of those struggles. So I frankly I knew that Apple was always, wanted to deliver highly reliable features and only release those features if they were like very well tested. But this is really surprising to me that they made a commitment publicly and could not deliver when Alexa, its jealous cousin, was able to deliver Alexa Plus.
That is funny. I'm looking at the stock market right now to see what type of impact. And after hours, it's about a $3 dip. So yeah, they're going to see a little bit of that today. We'll see. Typically, you'll see a little dip, and then this is such a long-term play on the stock market for those that follow. Um, so we'll see. We'll see where it ends up by the end of the day. Big announcement though, to your point, Nick. They typically don't do that, so there's
Yeah.
definitely going to be a little bit of a stock market shock on their ticker today. We'll see. Okay, Jason. Anything else here on the lawsuit? Apple Intelligence, right? That's been like the big buzz. You see all the commercials,
Yeah.
right? For those that love the ecosystem, they're obviously intrigued to see how it connects the dots. Any thoughts there? Are they struggling? Is it working? What do you think?
It from the outside, it looks like they're struggling. They're focusing on things, and what they're delivering with Apple Intelligence so far, I would say meh.
Yeah,
The sandbox for creating emojis, that's not something that's going to help business professionals. It's going to help, as you're doing
yeah,
TikTok and other types of things. So, and even the summarization has been probably concerning at best. Like
right.
when I look at the summarization, I'm like, oh my god, this is an emergency email, and then I read it and I'm like, oh, you missed the point completely there. So I think there's a lot to be done and a lot of opportunities, and having that built into the Apple ecosystem and what they promised back in the summer of last year, that's what people were excited about and what they thought Apple was going to really bring to the table. And so far they have missed the mark completely.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there. Now, I will say, and I've said it before, I'm a big Microsoft guy. I'm betting it all. I'm betting it all, and it's so interesting. I wonder what would occur if Bill Gates came back. Although that whole team at Microsoft, I think, is doing a great job. But on the Apple side, if Jobs was to come back, like what would this look like if it was they were back in this era though of this intelligence wave. Although they had been working on it in years past, but now it's mainstream. I wonder what this would look like. Is Microsoft still making more of the positive headlines and Apple's where it's at, or would it be, interchangeable
They're,
there?
they're,
It'd be
they're, they're
interesting.
not playing the same game.
Tell me more about that. I like that because I've been thinking a lot about that.
It's enterprise versus consumer.
Hmm.
Apple has never gone after the enterprise. I mean, they've
Hmm.
tried to in small ways, but they've kept their focus purely on consumer. But then you had consumer gig workers, okay?
Hmm.
That's another angle they went after. So it's not enterprise, but it's still professionals, especially developers,
Hmm.
right? That Apple has gone after. If you see any developer, I would say probably about 60 to 70% of developers own MacBooks, right? So because they're built off of the Unix, like the Unix backbone, the foundation, right? And that's same thing that Linux is built on. So largely, it started with the popularity of Unix. So Windows was a completely different play. Windows was always enterprise. I mean, they had minor focuses, but their minor focuses came through their hardware suppliers. You have to understand, now Microsoft makes hardware.
Hmm.
But back in the day, it was Compaq, it was HP, it was Dell. I mean, it still is. Compaq's not around anymore. But back in the day, they just focused on the operating system. Apple was all about one stop shop, building the whole thing together, and that's why they've done so well so far,
Hmm.
right? But I'm pretty disappointed in what's happened so far because I'm a diehard Apple ecosystem guy. I don't have anything that non-Apple, so I'm kind of disappointed in this.
Wait, what was that, Gemini? Oh, they want to switch topics. We're gonna go to the good. We're gonna go to the next topic here. So Google launches Gemini 2.5, and I gotta say, because we're talking about Siri, you're right, Nick. I have the Samsung. I got Gemini in my text messages and my docs,
Yeah,
and it's pretty dang good. It's really
yeah.
good. So switching gears there, Nick. Let's start with you. Thoughts on just the strategic? I mean, Google was interesting because search is getting crushed. They're not going to do great. They have this weird conference, if you all remember the DJ and all the weird colors, and I'm like, what is Google doing? But here they come, right? They're playing.
They
They're a
are.
contender.
They're a contender. I don't have a lot to say about this. It's just it's always like there's OpenAI. Anthropic's kind of like the cool kid, right? I don't know if you have kids out there. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. But what's the name? Inside Out, right?
Oh, I love that.
The second one, you had the French kid that that was bored all the time. I feel like
Right,
that's
right.
that's that, and it's funny that they're it's French, but that's like Anthropic. He's like, yeah, I'm cool. I'll just chill on the side here.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not they're not
Man,
super. Nah, they're not looking at everybody else and like, oh, we got to beat them. And then you got Anthropic, and then you got Grok, and then you got Google doing the Google Gemini thing.
yeah.
Um, but those are the I just
Llama, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the marketplace is compact right now.
Right.
it's very compact and it's a very close race. And so I don't really get. I mean, I'll go try it out, but I don't really get too bent out of shape when, unless it's like a really big step in the right direction. I don't really get bent out of shape. I think the last time I was like super impressed was Dev Day, April 2024 for
Hmm.
OpenAI. That was the last time I was super impressed. And I feel like I'm a spoiled kid, right? And I feel privileged and entitled to have access to PhD level models in my pocket. And I feel like I'm underplaying it and I'm being a little bit flippant. But this is what you've done to me,
That's
right?
hilarious. Well, shoot, Jason. I mean, from a technical side, right? We were just going through Apple quite a bit. I mean, I know I'm biased because now I'm on this. And by the way, I started as an Apple ecosystem guy, and then I went to the light phone. For those of you that want to step away and
What is
disconnect, go
that?
to. Oh, you guys got to check that out. We got to put it in the comments or something. It's called the lightphone.com. I don't get royalties, I promise. It's like it used to be like a $300 phone, call and text. That's it. Although they're starting to add more features,
Oh,
and they
okay.
and they just got an injection of capital, so they're doing good. Shout outs to them. That's exciting.
Is
But
it black
then
and
I
white?
moved. It's just black and white, like a
Yeah,
Kindle screen,
yeah,
no
yeah,
white light. It is
yeah,
amazing. If you want to disconnect for a little, or give it to the kids. Honestly, don't let
yeah.
them have them social, so they don't watch us talking here. And then I moved to Samsung, yeah, and Google and all of that. So I don't know, Jason. Thoughts on the technical side? I mean, it looks pretty impressive on what they're doing, especially the token
Yeah,
piece.
yeah. I think the token thing, the token context window is probably the most impressive thing. They've got a million token context window, and really, I know we've spoken a little bit about tokens and
Right.
what they are, and having a million context, you can put in multiple novels into this and be able to get responses and summarization right there on the spot. And so, yeah, I think that's where the biggest value that they had. It looks like benchmarking, they're ahead in reasoning for all of the other models. But I think one of the problems I continue to struggle with Claude, and when I'm doing any type of coding activities, is I run out of context window, and it's like press continue to keep going forward. And so I spend more time doing that. So I will be testing out the Gemini Pro with that $1 million or the 1 million context window. But I think what else is very cool is it's also be able to inject multimodal. So being able to take in a video and be able to translate that to text, or being able to help turn that into voice and be able to extract all of that. There's a lot of great capabilities now in the Google platform that I think is going to start helping and be able to do this. But again, it's kind of like there's so much, like Nick was saying, we've gotten so spoiled because all
Mhm.
these capabilities are coming so fast, so often. It's just we're missing how valuable. And when we look back at it, it'll be like, wow, that was just a golden age of technology.
I'll tell you when I'm going to be super impressed is when we stop having to decide which model to go to for.
Interesting.
I feel like they're all.
Oh, you're scaring me. What do you mean? A one world order? That's scary.
No,
That's
no,
Skynet,
no.
dude. You are the
Every
one. John Connor, where is he?
hey, listen. Every model provider has a set of models, and each model is good at certain things, right? And I think that's what GPT-5 from OpenAI. That's what they're trying to achieve, right?
Well, we
And
talked about
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but
Bacchus,
GPT-4 has gotten really good. I don't. Have you guys noticed that?
Well,
quick. Yeah, very
one of the
quick.
things that came out last night that I did want to talk about during this topic was the new image generator, and we're getting rid
Yes.
of the Latin flair Dale.
Dale.
Dale! Órale!
Órale, dale.
But I have been impressed with what they've been able to do. I think this is going to accelerate any marketing team to be
Hmm.
able to put your product in there and build out a very good marketing campaign and a marketing plan
Yeah.
that you just didn't trust it with the stable diffusions and the mid journeys and the dollies and all of these others that came out. This one and the one that Google released I think it was a couple of days ago, that went really under the radar. It's really going to change how people interact with this. The one question I have for you guys is, one of the biggest things I've seen everyone do is put their family picture in there and turn it into The Simpsons, turn it into a Pixar movie. What are your guys' thoughts on that, of putting your personal information and sharing that into the models?
Oh boy. Go
Oh,
ahead,
so it's
Albert.
funny. No, well, it's funny you're saying that because, and I know we're jumping around. This is good because it's good combo. Because I was thinking, as much as I love Google and Gemini, and then what you're talking about, Jace, uh, my fear, as we're talking about, we've been talking about threats, risk mitigation, etc. The privacy side. That's one thing about Apple. I will say, you don't hear a lot about privacy issues, but when you talk about Google, sorry, those that love Google, I mean, I do too. I mean, you're just your currency's your privacy. To be honest, like you're just giving you might, hey, just have it all, big brother. It's
But
all good.
but you got pictures, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus out here, but don't you have pictures of you and your family on Facebook?
It's a good point.
It's already out there.
I know. Start blurring them. You know how people put the blur, or they put the like a heart sticker on their
That that,
That
that
was
face.
one thing
defeats the
I
purpose.
spoke about yesterday during the panel. There was a question about that. And one of the first things I do with any of these models is shut it off where they're learning off of my data. I don't want
Mm.
them to learn off of my data. So in the
Do you think
settings,
they're telling the truth though? I feel like it's placebo. I'm like,
No, dude.
who's gonna go under the hood and regulate them and check
well,
right now?
because you can
Nobody.
ask it, what do you know about me? And it
Yeah.
will be able to tell you. If
Well,
you have
that's
that
probably the
turned on,
setting.
it'll
That's
tell
probably
you
what the
everything
setting
you know
is.
about you,
No, but that's
as
probably
well
what
as
the
create
setting is.
images now of what they know about you.
No, but that's
So
what
it does.
probably That's probably what the setting is. It's don't tell them what you know about them
Yeah.
because they don't want you to know anything about them.
Well, yeah, they don't want you to know. Yeah, we're still taking your data, but when you ask for it, no, we'll cut it up. So you
Yeah,
think
exactly.
that's what
Exactly.
I just don't. We've been saying it, right? We don't trust any of the models. We don't trust the models, but they're very useful, right? Software discernment. But Jason,
Oh,
you're on it.
it's a
It's
good
such a good
question.
point. Yeah,
Good
it's a
question.
great question.
It's
So
a
I think a
great
lot of us.
question, and I just don't think. I think privacy is false.
Yeah,
Okay, there's a false sense of security and privacy all the time.
it's like the matador.
Anyway, I think that this is a topic that we can keep going on. There's another really great topic that we need to get
Yes.
to, Albert.
Yeah, let's switch gears here. Okay, so a lot of viewers, a lot of DMs, right? Samantha's getting them all. There's a lot of people talking about the job market, right? So I think there was Jace, I'll come to you first because I know you've been reading about it. The World Economic Forum just released a study, right, about employment. And then there was also some recent forecasts that 300 million full time jobs could be impacted. That doesn't necessarily mean cut, but impacted
Hmm.
by AI, agentic workflows, automation. And so there's this major, we knew this was happening and will happen some more, this major economic shock and shift, this paradigm shift. So it's interesting. Leaders out there, executives, I know they're talking a lot about this, and then those that are in leadership or are looking, searching, or thinking about moving to something else, or trying to figure out what to learn so they could stay on top and stay relevant and valuable in the marketplace. This is a big topic. There's a lot going on here and a lot to come. But Jason, over to you on what's happening when we're talking about employment headcount
Yeah,
with
no,
this
this
technology.
this seems to be the number one topic that's top of mind for everyone as they start seeing the value that AI can have. Is how is it going to impact jobs? How is it going to impact people? Yesterday during the panel, that was about 5 questions. Was what do you think that the effects of the job market is going to be? And this VentureBeat article that was created has a ton of information. And Samantha, if you could please share that in the chat so people can see that. But what they're feeling is it's going to be a gradual type of arc, and then it's going to be a big cuts. And they're saying 40% of employees are expected to be reduced between 2025 and 2030, which is a big number because of AI automating the tasks. And so,
Wow.
we've spoken about it. We each have our own opinions of what does that mean. Does that mean more people have the opportunities to be entrepreneurs? I'm also kind of thinking, going back to the golden age of the 40s and 50s, where it was just a single parent needed to work. Are we going to get to that type of point where we're going to have more
Interesting.
time to spend with our families, because we're going to have so much abundance and we're going to have so much capabilities? Is that the way that this is going to impact us, that we're not going to need multifamily or multi people working in the house going forward?
Mm. Ooh, that's
Hmm.
that's that's a touchy one because now I want to
Interesting.
talk about economics and tariffs and inflation. You're making me think. I'm like, man, how are we going to do this?
We
This,
cannot live on a single income.
yeah,
Just
it's
because
tough.
AI is here, it's not the people that are going to benefit from it. The employers, the business owners will benefit from it.
Mhm.
But I mean, just
That's
like
the total.
taxes
And by
versus
the
tariffs,
yeah,
taxes versus tariffs.
I'm a
Do it.
capitalist, right? But a lot of this reminds me, and not to go too deep into it, right? We're talking AI here. We're not talking economics, although there's a blend. But it reminds me of the whole bourgeoisie, proletariat, or however you say it, the French word, right? It's the owners win and the workers lose, and then you create this gap. And can this technology, if we don't if it outpaces our ability to reposition people, I mean, yeah, Nick, you're onto something. Jason, I hear what you're saying, right? It's just it's interesting what's going to go on here. This labor shift. We just got to think about it. Honestly, I think the way we really keep up with the tech and what it replaces and reposition the labor is we go and educate our kiddos. Colleges
Yep.
we need to educate differently. They got to
Yes.
get our kids, our students ready for what's coming, or else there's going to be the adoption. There's going to be too much of a gap, and people are going to struggle. They're going to hurt.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I
no,
see.
we actually had on the panel one of the professors from TCU there, Dr. Renee, and that's one of the things. They are completely changing the curriculum to teaching the students to be more critical thinkers and not specifically on how to use this tool, how to use Power BI or things like that, but how to solve problems. And that's where, it was great to hear them thinking of like how they're going to start solving and how they need to rethink to prepare someone for the workforce, because a lot of these tasks that are necessary for finance, for accounting, are going to change. And they're already leaning forward, and they've got their core curriculum during the long months, but in the spring or in the summer and in the winter, they actually have these really specific topics in entrepreneurship and things like that, where you'll be able to get more information and
I
be
love
more
that.
prepared for the market.
I love that. And it's funny, and I heard it again yesterday. I was on this mastermind call that I'm on. It's pretty cool group. But again, it was like this fear of not wanting to say replace. It was, well, augment, well, reposition, and and I don't think it needs to be one or the other. But I don't think you can say just augment and reposition. Positions will be replaced, right? You all know this behind the scenes. I'm working on something to replace, sorry, but replace controllers and me, fractional CFOs. That's what I'm working on because the tech is there. It's possible. But to your point, Jason and Nick, right? It's not just students, but those out in the workforce right now. How are you leaning into this and learning
I
it?
gotta be
Because
curious, man.
you gotta stay curious, right? Yeah, you gotta know like
You know,
when
you
to
know what the
use.
problem. You know what the
Tell me.
problem is. The problem is that a lot of the generation that are in the workforce right now, right, the sort of that 30s range,
Right.
they came out of a parental generation that forced them to go to college simply to get a degree
Hmm.
because that's what their parents thought was best. And so now they're out there and they are lost. They are purposeless. They're doing jobs that they don't care about at all. And so there's no passion or drive to innovate and be creative. So they're probably going to get hit the hardest. The Gen was the Gen Zs, the
Right.
Gen Zs. I think that they're very innovative. They're very spirited. They're highly digital natives. So they may figure it out. But at the end of the day, if schools aren't doing the work, and I want to highlight, there is a school out in Austin called the Alpha School. They spend only 2 hours a day teaching. The rest of the day is spent teaching them life skills. I love that. We need to change the way we teach our kids and what we're teaching our kids. They are not going to need to know. I mean, I think it's important that they understand Texas history and the Alamo, right?
Yep.
But they don't need to spend an entire quarter learning about the Alamo. That's not going to be useful for them in the future. It is important to it is important for us to keep the traditions and the lineage and history of Texas and for our children to know where we came from, but it's not important enough to spend an entire quarter on it. They need to be learning real life skills. So that's my take on. I'm really passionate about that stuff, man, because
Yeah, we got to help.
we're I mean a lot of, unfortunately, because of the inability to scale, we're looking at a 1 to 30 student to teacher ratio. Kids are not getting the individualized attention they need. We're making a product in the lab right now to help with this. It's called Soren.
Soren.
Anyway, yeah, Soren. Yeah, I'll tell you more about it next time. If you are interested, April 15th, I'm going to be building a business from scratch.
Ooh,
Yeah, along with the help of Jason's super one-shot prompt. We did this at SMU, and it was a hit.
love it.
And so we will build an entire business. We have people submitting left and right on our form.
I'm sure some Samantha, you probably have some college friends out there. Let's go. Let's pitch.
Yeah, start pitching.
Start pitching.
Have them fill out the survey, and if you're interested, submit your business idea, and if we pick it, then I'll build it within an hour live in front of everybody.
Awesome.
So yeah. Anyway, back to you, Albert.
This was
So
good.
one more
Jason, yeah,
thing,
go
Albert,
ahead.
we need to make sure everyone's aware of today at noon. Nick and I are going to do a webinar on LinkedIn talking
Oh
Yes.
about
yes.
avatar AI. So
Oh,
please
that's
go to the
huge.
AI executive, and we'll demo some of the different use cases, and then answer any of your questions about rolling out an avatar AI for your company.
Oh, I totally forgot
Cool.
about that.
And we'll
Thank
throw
you,
that we'll
Jason.
throw that event link in the comments too.
Yes.
That's gonna be huge. Everyone, please make it to it. Like, you know, to have a longer lunch break or bathroom break or whatever. You got to watch this.
True.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I'll be.
How long
I'll
do
be
you go
right.
to the bathroom,
I'll
Albert?
be right back. I'll be right back. So you got to go watch that. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. So, all right, we talked about a lot. We had Apple Siri, we had Google Gemini. We talked about the labor market and the shock that is occurring and will continue to occur. We talked about education. I mean, there was a lot of, and it's interesting. I really enjoy that we have some differing of opinions, gents. I like that, and I think that's how
Good.
people are feeling out there too, right? And so, maybe we didn't give everyone an answer, but we made you think. Back to stay innovative, stay curious. So that's it for today's AI Executive Morning Buzz. Big thanks, Nick James, Jason Hess, for joining us and providing your insights and perspectives. As we always say, and as just mentioned, stay curious, stay innovative, and we'll see you every. Oh, is today Thursday? Are you kidding me? I gotta wait on the whole weekend.
Whole week,
Every
man.
every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Central. Everyone, have a great day and have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.